Hey everyone, welcome back to the Atatat Show, your weekly dose of all things wild and wacky in the marketing, media, and tech universe. I'm your host, Pesach Latin, ready to steer this spaceship into the nebula of digital advertising and come out the other side with some cosmic insights. Hold on to your mocha choca lattes, because today we're hanging out with Jesse Redness, the grand poobah at Qonsent with a Q. We're talking the roller coaster of ad life. Is it a scream fest, or just another day at the park? Dive in as we unpack the magic behind turning privacy policies into customer magnets and much more. It's going to be a wild ride, so let's get this party started.
Deserve to win when it matters most. Facing multi-billion-dollar bet the company litigation? No problem. That's why we're here. Troutman Amin LLP is a true legal powerhouse.
Hey there, Yoda show aficionados. I'm Pesach Latin, your captain on this journey through the digital universe where we dissect the worlds of advertising, technology, and everything in between with a twist of lemon and a shot of tequila. Today we're rolling out the red carpet for genuine game changer Jesse Redness, the wizard behind Qonsent with a Q. Jesse, how's the roller coaster ride and ad world treating you? Are you screaming in terror or enjoying the view from the top?
I'm doing a little bit of both. I'm not going to lie. It's been 3 years on this journey. It's definitely had its ups and its downs. 2023 was a tough down year, but I got to say the last couple of months have been up and looking even higher as we start to ascend. So it's great.
In the realm of clicks and conversions, are you the wizard or just another apprentice waving a wand around?
I like to think of myself as a wizard here, trying to master my own craft and have my own potions and approaches to unlocking real human interaction and understanding.
All right, let's cut to the chase like an engine in a butter factory. You've zigzagged from Emmy-nominated work at NBC Universal to digital frontiers with Qonsent, seemingly always a step ahead in the media and tech dance-off. What's the secret sauce behind your relentless innovation, and how do you keep your creative batteries charged in an industry that's more unpredictable than a cat on caffeine?
I'd say first and foremost is just staying laser focused in on people, on humans, on consumers, on fans, understanding what makes them tick, understanding what content they love, understanding what games they like to play, and taking that ethos and applying it to different business practices to help drive, outcomes. So at the heart of everything, it's really just understanding, the human nature and behavioral science of what makes everything work.
Was there a eureka moment with Qonsent, or did it sit around the back burner like a fine sauce?
No, there was a eureka moment with Qonsent. It was really before we had launched Qonsent while I was at Warner Media, in which we were really looking at the shifting data privacy landscape, GDPR, CCPA aspects. I, at the time, was working closely on the core enterprise data strategy and a lot of product innovation work. And just seeing the moves that Apple was making with their ATT framework and, the whole do not track aspect of just a simple yes or no blunt, over the head choice, right? Not really providing the consumer with any context or true agency over what choices they're making, what value and benefits they get out of saying yes or no. That was the oh, okay, I understand where this market may move based on an Apple type of move. How do we identify the white space as something that we can build and grow and own?
Reflecting on your escapades at Warner Media and Brave Ventures, how did those adventures shape your wish for Qonsent?
I mean, I'd say first and foremost, Brave Ventures was a lot of fun, a lot of learning. My business partner doing that was David Beck. We had another partner with Gary Vaynerchuk, and it really was a crash course on product innovation for major media companies going through the kind of streaming emergence and really looking at both social streaming, their traditional linear businesses now colliding, transforming, and coming up with new innovative ways to build products, services, strategies to engage consumers and generate revenues. And getting scrappy with David and the team that we built at Brave was that first real taste of hey, it's just two people. You've got to do everything soup to nuts. It's about leveraging your relationships with people you know and you trust. It's about bringing in your innovative thinking and bring it to the table in a way that you're not afraid to give away your thoughts and ideas for free in order to actually build something with a partner or a client. That was a big learning lesson. My most of my career was at a big enterprise. I just come out of 10 years at NBC Universal, and prior to that, the agency world. So it was a leap of faith. But that was really a huge learning moment in just regards to how to build and scale something from literally, a blank sheet of paper.
Was it like playing in a symphony and going to a jazz band?
It was, yeah. I mean, with a symphony, there's so many rules and restrictions, and everything is quote unquote fully orchestrated, right, and massive. Right. And then you're going into like as small as a 3-piece or 2-piece jazz band, in which a lot of it was improv, right? And it's all around right. Like great. There's a drummer, there's a guitar player. You can actually develop some beautiful music, coming in from different perspectives, different expertise. But guess what? In a lot of ways, it gels.
Can you share a pivotal challenge that nearly had you waving the white flag, but instead ended up sculpting your approach to leadership and innovation? Like, was there a moment you felt like a contestant on a reality show for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, actually, there was a great moment, and it was back in my days at NBC Universal, in which we had a lot of fun back in the kind of social emergence days, and really being given the freedom to experiment with ways to engage audiences. And with one of the programs that we were supporting at USA Network, one of their cable properties, we built an immersive interactive gaming experience that transcended both linear into social and digital platforms.
Was it for a specific show?
It was. It's for a show called Psych. And it was for,
I love Psych.
All right, awesome. I love to hear that.
Yeah.
What?
I was hoping it wasn't Suits, because everyone's talking about Suits.
No, Suits is great too. But a lot of the learnings that we deployed in Sight, we actually developed an immersive kind of secondary storyline called #Killer. And so we worked really closely with the show creators, Steve Franks and team, James O'Day, all the actors in Dulé Hill. We literally, in the early days of Sight, introduced them to social media and the power of their audience in platforms like Twitter and Facebook to not just engage with them and send content to them, but actually co-create content with them and bring those things back, bring those learnings, those passion points from the fans back into the show. And to have a writing team at Psych that was open to that, and then creating and developing story arcs and lines and developing an immersive storytelling experience, was phenomenal, quite frankly. And that really opened up my eye to the power of omni-channel audience engagement, the power of leveraging and using data and insights to really truly understand what makes fans tick here, and makes them love that show and those characters. And that helped set the blueprint, quite frankly, for a lot of the work we did with Suits and other shows at USA and getting more immersive at NBC Universal across the portfolio, and then even into Warner Media. So that was that real eureka moment for me that kind of lit the real fire into like, what do I want to do and how do I want to leave a mark on how we can transform the way storytelling happens in a story world, not just in a linear fashion.
If you could give advice, if you could dish out advice to an aspiring entrepreneur itching to make their mark in media and ad tech landscape, what would you give them? Any pearls of wisdom, or should they just invest in a good helmet?
I would say go out there and do a lot of research and conversations with the companies or the people that you think would want whatever product or services that you want to go build first and foremost. Get their feedback, get their insights, ask what worked, what didn't work, what's going to be successful, what are the benchmarks and goals of why they would want a certain product or service, to kind of pre-qualify a little bit on the product that you want to go build. I truly believe that sometimes you do have to go very myopic and just go build it and then figure out if the audience or the clients will come. But again, having done this a few times now, pre-qualifying and then building and priming a network that will be receptive to it, I think is paramount for success.
So will you consider yourself more of a marathon runner than a sprinter?
I would consider myself a marathon runner. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so as we peer into the tech crystal ball, what's the next big wave you're gearing up to ride? Is there a yet uncharted territory in media that you're eyeing like the last slice of pizza at a party?
Absolutely, and obviously, I think there's so much fodder right around the core application of AI. But as we think about Gen AI and proof of provenance of data, information, ownership, I think for us and what we're doing at Consent, as well as what creators can utilize and harness as part of their creative process, that for us is truly a whole new opportunity that'll help us get into the next 5 to 10 years of our growth.
I want to jump straight into the deep end with Consent. You've taken on this Herculean task of making privacy sexy again. It's like deciding to knit a sweater in a tornado. What lightning bolt of inspiration struck you to embark on this mission? And how did you go, hey, that's a cool idea, to how is this real life?
Yeah, I mean, I think the lightning moment really came when we were looking at all the different products and services, what we call our kind of Gen 1 privacy platform offerings. And they, in our opinion, they were really built to deter actual consumers from having agency and being able to make a choice. They were built around, hey, let's just manage delete requests, DSARs, and opt-outs. And that's
Right.
antithetical, right, to how I've grown up as not just, a business person, but also just as a human. It's really around, again, interaction, engagement, participatory aspects, understanding value exchange and benefit for your opportunity to engage and build a stronger relationship. And so when we were looking at that landscape, that's where it's like, hey, there are no products and services that are CX first, really consumer centric in regards to explaining things in both plain language as well as using design theory and iconography to actually explain very complex legal concepts down to a level that the average consumer can understand. And that, as we think about the whole notion of permission and consent, that was the foundational bed that started our whole company.
Was there, in the early whirlwind days of transforming or building Consent, what was the most unexpected gust that threatened to blow your plans off course?
I would say that, as every startup person experiences, you're going to go have 99 no's before you get to the one yes. And
Right.
a lot of those responses we got from VCs and investors and partners and publishers was, do consumers care? Right? So you go through your whole spiel, you're super excited to share your mission, and then they drop a bomb of like, do consumers care? And 3 years ago, there's probably a lot of, movement in the industry to keep the status quo, to not have to rejigger your entire infrastructure and data operations to start thinking about the deployment of GDPR, CCPA, and just human rights in general into how you're gathering data on your consumers. And so, that whole aspect of do consumers care is just a blow, right? It's just like, really? Like, that's your response to this whole idea and an opportunity to invest into the future of how consumers participate in the open internet, and not just the internet itself, but any connected experience they may want to participate in the future. So that was the big blow, right? That quite frankly took a lot of wind out of our sails and made us really think, is the industry ready to start embracing what is actually truly happening right now? And that was 3 years ago, and I think the sentiment has changed.
So privacy by design and default sounds great on paper, but it's a little bit like dieting without giving up cake. How does Consent stand out in a sea of digital solutions promising privacy but delivering prying eyes?
Yeah. So from our standpoint, again, we are first and foremost focusing on the consumer experience. So we don't position ourselves as a CMP or as a privacy platform per se. We're really focused in on the user experience and composable identity management aspects that help businesses achieve their goals while giving the consumer actual agency and choice over how their data gets used. So we have what we call our smart contract, and it in and of itself is that visual icon-driven notice and disclosure experience that brands with their legal team and risk and compliance teams can customly build how it actually gets presented to their consumers. So it provides a ton of flexibility. You can deploy JS or APIs of our capability as well. So it's non-interruptive to the consumer experience. And then we actually take beyond just PI components, behavioral information, contextual information, to truly understand the behavioral science of what is getting that consumer to give permissions to say yes. Was it the value exchange? Was it the mindset that we're in? So we're using a lot of real-time optimization as part of how we're actually then making suggestions to companies on how they can better convert and get more traction, right? And permissions from the consumer. So that for us seems to be a very unique offering in the marketplace. And we're doing it in a way where it's, again, this isn't a cookie pop-up that's just all over the place and disrupting the experience. It's part of the experience. And that is really how we set ourselves apart.
Can you share a tale where consent turned the tide for a client's privacy nightmare into a dream of data discretion? Was it more like a
Sure.
Cinderella story or Sleeping Beauty needing a wake-up call?
I would say it was a little bit of a Cinderella story. I won't name the exact client because I'm not at
Right.
liberty to name it. However, I will describe the case study. So big client, they represent 4,000 different marketing brands that are out there. They perform a lot of different data capabilities and media capabilities, and they were actually running essentially a connected retail environment. So they were working with a brand, a very large global beverage brands, and enabling data collection as part of an offering in coolers. So they're doing cooler screens. Hey, sign up for a loyalty club, and you get a 6-pack today, get another 6-pack for free, kind of aspect. And they didn't have a turnkey, fast solution to really deal with things like in California, if you're doing an incentive-backed offer, you have to get explicit consent if you're asking for an API, right, as part of that overall relationship. And using our system, they were able to easily deploy a consumer experience launched off of QR code on the cooler screen, and saw phenomenal engagement. 300,000 overall engagements, over 85% opt-in rate and completion of people signing up for that overall experience. And so for them, that was wow, we had a fast solution that was getting put in place very quickly. Legal team on the beverage company side approved of the creative approach quickly, and consumers loved it. They didn't find it to be interruptive. And when given choice in the agency, it showed and proved that you don't have to be afraid to be transparent with what you're actually doing with people's data.
Did you feel a little bit like a digital Dumbledore bestowing privacy spells?
A little bit. Sometimes you're just like, hey, here's a little potion. You should go try this out. And guess what? It actually worked. And so for us, it also was a validation point, right? It was the first time we'd actually done a connected retail environment, out-of-home execution. We didn't know how it was going to perform. We've done them on linear and CTV before, but we had a lot of conviction over, our platform and the capabilities and the insights we've learned on consumer receptivity. But we'd never done and built a case study like that before. So yes, a little bit like Dumbledore, I could say.
Are there any emerging technologies that you're eyeing like a kid in a candy store?
Yeah, I mentioned it earlier. For us, AI and the opportunity to kind of leverage and kind of deploy what we built with our permission-based system, which really practices purpose limitation, data minimization, as we think about what's happening in the EU, UK with the AI Act over here in the US, understanding what happens as part of data and PI information going into LLMs. We believe we have something really important because it actually helps showcase the provenance of data, the provenance of the consumer's wishes, as well as enabling the ability for the consumer to pull out their information and then really thinking through how that can affect AI models, as well as other use cases that people that are building in these environments may be thinking through. So we're really excited about that. That we believe is going to be really disruptive to marketing and advertising and so many different other components of this industry. And we're just starting to feel the impacts right now.
How important is consumer feedback to the consent innovation engine? Is it like adding nitro to your race car or more like trying to herd cats?
It's nitro. At the end of the day, again, first and foremost, we are a consumer-centric and built company.
Right.
Again, our whole ethos at the company is all born out of fandom. Most of us that are there, and we're still a small team, we're only 9 people, come from media and entertainment and have been building, engaging fan-based experiences for 20 plus years.
Right.
And so So that information coming from the consumer feedback is foundational, right, to everything we do. And then again, applying that to how we think about then creating the user experience that's going to get them to engage, not treating them as part of a massive cohort, but treating them as an individual and truly getting the right data to the right algorithms and systems so that you can really truly personalize different asks and value opportunities that make me convert versus making you convert. And that truly is, I think, a bit of the consumer-driven mindset that is helping our company tick.
Do you get a lot of love letters, or are they more like your John notes?
No, we're starting to get a lot more love letters, which is good. For a long time, I think it was a lot of Dear Johns. We don't understand what you do and how to apply it, and we're not ready for you yet. So we need to move on and date other people. And we were like, okay, fine. We've got to figure out how to break through here. But, we do believe that we are building some great case studies now, some great champion core clients that we have, and we're starting to get more love letters. So we're getting excited.
Does it ever feel like you're trying to convince kids to eat their veggies for fun?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've got 4 boys that age from 14 to 9 years old, and so it's really, again, it's figuring out each individual personality, figuring out which veggies they actually like,
Right.
And all of a sudden you get your little 9-year-old be like, I love broccoli when you put, grapeseed oil on it real quick and flash fry and sprinkle it with Parmesan cheese. And you're like, boom, there you go. That's your personalized veggie, trick right there. And it's very different than, my 30-year-old and 14-year-old that, love certain like bok choy. They're all about bok choy. So again, being able to have those composable elements and pick and choose your ingredients right off the shelf to say, hey, I've got something for you and you and you and you. And then being able to say all of it is actually spun out of one core product. It's hard, but that's part of, getting engagement, getting buy-in, pitching, selling, understanding where the market is going, and being able to cater to your audience.
How do you see the landscape of privacy evolving, and where does consent fit into that future? Are we talking about a privacy renaissance or a revolution?
I think, I think we're actually seeing an entire revolution that's happening, because I do believe that there are core concepts that are net new to the global industry. And again, the whole aspect of providing agency back to the consumer at the point of data collection, truly, enabling choice and transparency and understanding value benefits. Like, these are revolutionary concepts that, again, the ad tech, infrastructure, MarTech infrastructure has not been practicing really ever. And so the last couple of years of the early movers has been phenomenal, like to see companies experimenting and testing and learning. And now it's affecting everything, right? When you see the 4As and the ANA and the IAB having, tons and tons of labs and workshops around consent and transparency, it brings a smile to your face. But a lot of it focusing on how do you solve those individual problems of how do you keep, enabling data to flow through the pipes that we have, versus how do you truly solve the problem for the consumer, which will eventually then solve the problem with the pipes. And so that's where it's really exciting. That's why I think there's a revolution happening.
So I want to talk a little bit about clean rooms, and not the ones you need a hazmat suit to enter, but the digital kind where data gets a bubble bath. With everyone from advertisers to zealous privacy advocates tuning in, how do you pitch the value of clean rooms without putting half the room to sleep?
Yeah, so I honestly think it's really the narrative around collaboration.
Right.
And at the end of the day, like, the whole bubble bath aspects of it all, I think when you take the notion of clean rooms here, eventually I do believe that the core concept of clean room will just become, second nature and as part of the entire, pipes, mechanics, and flow. Now, operational flows of how data is ingested, how it's transformed, and then how it's utilized. So the aspect of collaboration, the aspects of proof of provenance of data are so important. I like to to, draw the parallels to say, hey, there's the aspect of a clean room, which everyone is familiar with that. If you're not in the industry, even my 14-year-old son is like, explain it to me. I was like, all right, think of it this way. You're going in for a surgery and you're basically getting wheeled into the room and everything in the room is sparkling clean, right? Every instrument that's in there, every tool that's in there has been completely sterilized and clean so that you don't get sick, right? Even the people that go in there are highly trained to do specific things based on the tools that they're going to utilize to operate on you. So everything that's in there is vetted, qualified, pristine, and ready to go. What a clean room is not is you throw a bunch of garbage in that room and expect all those people that are in there to clean up that garbage to make it usable once it's in the room. And my son's like, oh, I totally get it. And I was like, so what we do as a company is we help make those things pristine before they get into a clean room so that they can then be collaborated on with the right permissions and understandings of what they were actually put in that room to be used for.
What's the biggest myth about clean rooms that you like to bust Ghostbuster style?
I think, what I just touched on is the fact that clean rooms don't clean data, right?
Right.
You can't put a bunch of garbage into a clean room and expect to just be able to transact that like that. I think that's the biggest myth that, many in the industry still don't truly understand. Those that are on the cutting edge of leveraging clean rooms, Optimal, Snowflake, AWS, and actually seeing the outputs from it all, testing and learning, I think they understand, but there's still a lot of education that needs to happen in the industry and a lot more adoption, quite frankly.
Right. With partnerships like Veracast in the mix, how has Consent's clean room game leveled up? Are we talking Mario finding a super mushroom, or more like a strategic alliance in the Game of Thrones?
Wow, that's an interesting one. Strategic alliance in Game of Thrones versus a mushroom. I'm going to go with the fact of, I do believe that Veracast and their NextDrive CDP, with us and the capabilities of being able to collect consented permission first-party data across their omni-channel touchpoints, across all their different customers, is a big mushroom. It helps them immediately figure out how to grow, how to jump higher, how to scale faster, run faster for all their clients, so they can achieve their goals. And I think their integration with Snowflake and be able to activate in Cleanroom, knowing that you do have proof of provenance of data in your CDP to go activate on and build better segments with, I think is a bit of a superpower for them. And, again, we're really excited around that partnership. And again, it's early days. It's all around adoption and showing case studies, but we're really excited by all the results we're seeing thus far.
So I understand that Consent smack in the middle of behavioral advertising and streaming TV. How do you navigate these choppy waters without capsizing the boat?
That's a great question, and I think it really comes down to testing and learning right now. We're at an inflection point with IP address, quite frankly,
Right.
I think how the U.S. approaches it versus what's obviously already in practice over with GDPR are different. I think there's a lot of aspects of information, data, inferences that are coming to light in the industry that people are starting to move on. Comcast launching their Signals product and being able to utilize things like BlockGraph to encrypt how household identity and information is being utilized for audience segment development, I think is a great move, right? But that's just one move. And so from our standpoint, quite frankly, the very beginning of Consent was focused in on leveraging QR codes to try to, engage consumers that are sitting in a living room so we can truly understand and match who they were in the living room off their phone with a connected TV to build better household capabilities and understand the people within the household and get permission to use their data for household IP address information. So 3 years of really understanding the intricacies and the pipes of how IP and device IDs and emails and alt identifiers are getting conflated and spun up together, it's really important timing right now for us as an industry to understand the workflow management that happens with commingling identity systems and household identifiers and thinking about not just measurement and analytics, but also how all that data then gets used for everything from marketing to ad targeting to product development and ensuring, again, that you have all the right permissions. So in the CTV space, we're super excited. We just announced a very strategic partnership with a company called Driver Studios just this morning. They have 180 million people that they can reach on their connected TV, network. And they literally launch, parental focused interactive ad experiences for the likes of Mattel and Hasbro and Paramount and Nike and Pepsi and others. And it's really focusing on driving engagement, driving transparency, and driving business outcome from those brands.
So are cookies going out with a bang or a whisper, you think?
Honestly, I think that, based on a lot of the conversations we're having, they're kind of going out with a bang, at least from what people are saying. I do believe that it is a transition in which people can't just rip it out and rip their processes out, because you literally have to retool, right, your infrastructure to manage different approaches, which is, I think, part of what we help solve for. But I think it's a bit of a bang, right? A whisper, and it's just going to drag on, and quite frankly, people are going to find gray areas to continue to operate in. You're going to identify nefarious players in the space, and nobody wants to do that. I do think that what we're hearing from the IAB and the ANA and brands and our clients directly is they want to make change happen. They just need to know how to go do it, and who are the right companies and people to help them do it.
So what do you think the biggest hurdles and gold mines are for advertisers diving into the streaming pool, trying to woo viewers without creeping them out? Is it like threading a needle while wearing boxing gloves?
Man, I love these. Yes, I think it all comes down to, getting clients to understand this isn't about hoarding IP addresses to do household targeting, that essentially building a practice and a strategy now that does, again, drive transparency around how you're getting permission to use people's information and data, as well as understanding the intricacies of how a household operates. Right? At the end of the day here, I've got 4 kids, right? A lot of content is viewed across all the devices in my household. Games played, things streamed on YouTube, on the big TV in the living room, to the TV in the playroom, to my own iPad and my own personal device that my kids grab all the time. So understanding the pitfalls of brand safety, the aspects of COPPA compliance with regards to like, hey, if a kid is on the other end receiving this content around the Smurfs, right, or watching Sesame Street, and then all of a sudden an hour later it's watching something rated R, you've got to be really careful with how that device information or that IP address is then utilized for targeted advertising and behavioral targeted advertising, because you may be putting something in front of a child that, quite frankly, shouldn't be there. And so there's a lot of nuance that goes into understanding the viewer, understanding the engager, and being able to set up the right protocols for, how you leverage that viewership information, that data, the people that you believe are on the end of the screen.
Are you able to share a sneak peek into any groundbreaking campaigns or strategies that have set the streaming world ablaze?
Yeah, I mean, alluded to it, now with our partnership with Driver Studios, we're really excited, by our ability to do, interactive permission data collection directly from, media units, specifically, CTV, linear-based interactivity, inline video, our ability to integrate directly into mobile game opportunities. It's a net new concept that I think when you look at shoppable commerce as, a big hot point that Disney and others were at on the stage at CES touting, showing closed loop attribution and their ability to just drive right to a purchase. I think there's a huge opportunity to actually enable our data collection capabilities to drive towards other goals like lead generation, audience understanding, more insights on behavioral aspects of your known consumer as well as unknown consumers, and putting them into varying parts in your funnel. So we're really excited about that. And I think we're laying the foundation for, helping to build pipes to bring it to scale in a much larger way across more screens.
Does it ever feel like building the plane while flying it?
100% every single day, just like raising kids.
Biometrics are the new kid on the block, turning everything from your face to your pulse into keys to the digital kingdom. With Qonsent at the helm, how are you steering the ship through the sirens of innovation and the krakens of privacy concerns?
Yeah. Biometrics are a complicated space. And I think from our standpoint, we want to bring it down to consumer expectations, understanding, and simplicity. So again, just using basic building blocks to truly articulate and educate consumers on how their information is used and gathered, and then developing the user experiences to provide them with the agency to choose. Right. So as we read, obviously, in the press and see, varying players like the FTC or Illinois going after various companies like White Castle, it's really important to understand those early indicators of what the government is thinking, what businesses are doing, and then what we as an industry can do to help solve for those problems. And so I get excited, right? I learn by consuming as much as I possibly can from industry thought leaders, from reading on LinkedIn and New York Times, etc. And it's astounding when you actually go look at the landscape to see everything that's happening in the industry globally, and then bringing back those learnings into how we can think about applying it to biometrics. And again, I use biometrics every single day, from opening up my phone, right, to doing varying, health application use cases. And there are some players that do it better than others. And again, testing and learning and understanding how that then can be applied to employee data as part of you scanning into work every single day is very different than, me utilizing the health app on my iOS device to track my steps. And again, purpose limitation, data minimization, simplification of explaining things to a consumer so they truly understand and have agency on what they're doing.
So in the vast universe of advertising and marketing, who's your Yoda guiding you through the force or the farce?
I don't know if I have one particular Yoda, as I'm inspired by, so many players that are out there, quite frankly. I'm inspired by like Ariel Garcia and Odia Kagan, who are privacy thought leaders that, come from the agency world and the legal world. Odia at a legal attorney's office. Ariel was at and left based on her ethical choice to start something new, which I think is absolutely phenomenal. So I'm inspired by that leadership and that vision. I love talking to, different people, through the industry. Dave Morgan, who is, an industry stalwart, a legal background.
This week.
He's
Second
amazing.
time someone mentioned Dave Morgan this week.
He's just an awesome guy.
And it's already
guy,
Tuesday.
First of all,
it's only Tuesday.
Yeah, it's only Tuesday. He's just an awesome guy. He knows so much around the industry, and I think just sitting down and having conversations with him, you just get inspired. I also enjoy my conversations with one of my early investors in my last company, Gary Vaynerchuk,
right.
Which, I've known him for, 20 years now, and just watching his narrative transform and evolve over time, from just being about hustle to also being about hustle and human interactivity and empathy, and really figuring out what makes you tick as a human and your human interactions, family, friends, work life, I think is inspiring. And there's a lot of hype around Gary, and I love it to death, but, there's no truer, more genuine person that I know than him. I just had a great conversation with one of our investors, Ross Martin at Known Industry. I've known Ross for a long time, and just the words of wisdom that he bestowed in a very short conversation, 2-minute conversation, just that was spurred on, how's it going? Right? Was just like, you know what? Thank you for saying that. And it just made me feel good, right, about us as a company and about me as a.
So is there anyone specific, though, you'd like to share a foxhole with during the digital battleground? Choosing someone like your trench buddy, a digital warrior, or someone who's just really good at digging.
I would say actually my co-founder, Stefano Kim.
Right.
What a lot of people don't know, he was actually my boss at Warner Media at Turner. I worked with him very closely on the core enterprise data strategy at Warner Media. When we started building out Qonsent and really gotten the Foxhole together, the complement of what we can bring to the table, I think is very, very powerful. Level-headed guy, understands so many different aspects of the business that I don't truly have as much of a grasp on that he does. And we complement each other very well. I would go into the Foxhole with him in a lot of different business endeavors, not necessarily just ad tech or martech or experience tech.
Is he your sharpshooter or motivational mascot?
I don't know. He's both, quite frankly. It really depends. I think we feed off of each other and try to pick up where one of us is like, oh, he needs an assist or he needs an assist. So I think it's a bit of both, quite frankly.
So what's your morning potion? Is it strong coffee, a dash of optimism, or just sheer willpower?
Well, again, I've got four boys, and so there's always willpower every single day trying to get them up before you get your coffee. So there is a morning routine that is just sheer inertia of trying to get that gaggle, right, moving out the door, dressed, fed, teeth brushed, right, off to school, making sure they got all their homework done. Before you even get into that mode, you're trying to consume and trying to get ahead of work. I do get coffee and some fruit and protein in my body. I usually don't have a lot of time for lunch, so my morning is really important because the house is quiet, and I spend most of my time working out of the home. And my wife and I think, operate pretty nicely, being able to have a quiet house right after the kids go off to school.
Is there any book recently that turned your brain inside out and made you see the universe different?
I read a long time ago, I'd say probably 20 years ago, Pillars of the Earth by Ken Follett. And back then, it's a huge book. It's like 1,000 pages, but it is just an awe-inspiring novel that brings you through literally middle-aged humanity and brings you through the trials and tribulations of raising a family, building a cathedral, generations of families trying to navigate through a deadly world and leaving a mark in that deadly world. I reread it not too long ago, and again, the inspiration I got from the first time, I think, was just compounded even more in a positive way. Taking cues from how this family, Tom the Builder and his family, struggled, right, to leave their mark. It's inspiring when you're a builder, when you're trying to help an industry by bringing new innovative approaches and thoughts to how they can change the way they're doing things for the betterment of the industry, as well as the betterment of humanity and people and consumers. I think that's just a bit of inspiration for me.
So before we go, I try to ask everybody, if you could send yourself a text message back in time and give yourself some advice, what would you tell yourself?
I would probably tell myself that it's all going to be worth it, right? All this hard work as an entrepreneur, that no matter what the outcome is going to be, that you're going to have phenomenal learnings. You're going to leave a great impact from it all, and you're going to be successful no matter what the outcome of that individual thing may be. And that's an important lesson that I think I've been learning over time here, that I probably need to remind myself over and over again as it gets hard. When you get on that roller coaster and you get down towards the bottom again, boom, can you hit me up with a text message to say that again?
And that wraps up an incredible session with Jesse Redness on the ADOTAT Show. Thank you, Jesse, for taking us on a fascinating journey through the intricacies of privacy and innovation in advertising. Your insights are not just enlightening, but also a beacon for those navigating the complex world of ad tech. To our listeners, we hope today's episode inspires you to think differently and boldly about the role of consent and privacy in your marketing strategies. Remember, the landscape of digital advertising is always evolving, and staying informed is the key to staying ahead. Until then, keep pushing boundaries, and remember, stay curious, stay bold, and know more than you did yesterday.